A SCP-6448 story, Kedda class, not dear, written by Ethan Fowler, read by yours truly. Rocking back and forth on the porch's old rocking chair, I wait for my friend to return from the doctor. How's my favorite Indian? I say, waving to my best friend as he steps from his ute. Swift Runner says nothing and only looks around the reservation with a sad, trance-like stare. You okay, man? I ask, stepping from his family porch to read his tanned face for any clues. I'm fine, Hex. It was just a routine checkup, he says, forcing a smile. Wait here. I need to talk to the elders for a minute. Swift Runner continues, avoiding eye contact as he makes his way to the large hut down the road, surrounded by cars. Returning to Swift Runner's porch, I wait on his grandmother's rocking chair and replay what just happened in my mind in an attempt to understand. After a half hour, I see my friend being walked out of the hut, surrounded by a dozen of elders, all looking at the brink of sobbing. Swift Runner returns holding a large tent bag and throws in the back of his ute. Grab your overnight bag, Hex. We're going camping, he orders, gesturing inside. Sure, sounds fun, I mumble, taken back by his sudden seriousness. Throwing my bag in the back, I am barely able to get in and close the door before Swift Runner speeds off. Let's play a game, Hex, Swift Runner says as I fasten my seatbelt. I'll say an Indian cryptid, and you tell me how to kill it, he says, changing gears. Sure, I say with a shrug. The cannibal creature known as the Wendigo, he says, turning into the forest. Tear out its heart, shred its body, and burn everything, I say, growing more concerned for my childhood friend. And the shapeshifter known as Skinwalker, he whispers as he checks the mirrors. Find out who they are, and speak their full human name as they are in the middle of turning into an animal, I say, getting more and more uneasy. And what of the creature known as not deer, he says, stopping the ute next to a river and turning to face me with a cold expression. I've never heard of it, I mumble as I try to read his face. It's a spirit that takes the form of whatever it just killed. Most of the time it's a deer. It only kills when it's been noticed. If you see it, walk with the wind at your back and your head down. The wind will blow the smell of its decaying body past you, so you'll be able to judge the distance between you and the creature. If it sees you, it will try to get your attention, but you must ignore it. Even if it's walking behind you, breathing down your neck and whispering your name. Even if you hear your loved ones screaming in agony, begging for you to save them, you maintain your walking speed. You don't call out and you don't look up. You keep walking with the wind at your back, he says, with the look of extreme fear and seriousness. So how do you kill this not deer? I mumble, not breaking eye contact. The only way we know is to trick it into something already dying. Even though it'll take the corpse's body as its own, the illness will remain. Even if it changes into something after me, it'll already be corrupted, which would lead to its death, he says before stepping out of the ute. After taking a moment to process what he just said, I get out, and Swift Runner throws me a tent. Still in a trance, I begin to set it up by the riverside. Not there, build it on the water, he orders, gesturing to where the river is shallowest. Make sure the tent is surrounded by water, so we can hear it from every angle, he continues, as he pulls two hammocks out from behind the driver's seat and begins to climb a nearby tree overlooking the river. I obey his command without a word and join him in the tree. I obey his command without a word, and I join him in the tree as the wind begins to pick up, bringing mist and the smell of rain. As night falls, we wrap our bodies in raincoats and quickly drift off as we rocked to sleep by the trees swaying in the wind. I awake, covered in rainwater and the glow of the full moon. Looking next to me, I see only an empty hammock covered in specks of blood. Climbing down from the tree, I find our tent has been reduced to scraps of cloth and twisted metal bars. As I study the remains of our tent, I notice footprints belonging to Swift Runner heading deeper into the forest. If he's going deer hunting, he's going to need my help, I say to myself as I begin to follow his boot prints in the mud. My teeth chattering from the cold, I move silently into the thick brush, making sure not to slip on the moss-covered ground. As the storm grows in wrath, I struggle to follow my friend's tracks as more and more are swallowed up by the growing puddles. Stepping onto an abandoned road, I notice I'm no longer alone, as through the mist I see a figure standing in the middle of the road further up. Whoever it is, it's standing on two legs and has its back to me, facing the wind. Knowing deers stand on four legs, I approach quietly and whisper, "Swift Runner?" Instantly I regret this, as I see its ears flip up on the top of its head and begin to turn as it tries to hear me again. In unison, we both turn, and I begin to march with the wind to my back and terrified blood coursing through my veins. By the sound of the puddles splashing behind me, I know the beast noticed me, closing the distance on four legs, only to stand once again to march behind me. With the wind blowing behind me, I struggle to resist the urge to vomit as I'm forced to breathe the decay that bleeds from the creature. As I march down the road, I feel something warm caressing the back of my neck and feel sickened as I realize it's the putrid wet breath of the beast behind me. As I try my best to keep calm, I hear my own distorted voice, first as a whisper, then as a scream as the beast grows more impatient. Over time, I'm left wondering what to do as the storm fades and the wind changes, leaving me unable to tell where the demonic creature is. As I try to decide if I should change direction once again to have the wind behind me, or if I should wait for it to change on its own, I feel a rush of wind without warning from above. A spear flies past my head, striking the beast behind me, who roars in pain and anger. Looking up, I see Swift Runner standing on a fallen tree, holding a second spear in one hand and coughing in a handkerchief in the other. "Do you remember what I told you? How to kill the not deer?" he says with a sad smile as he holds up a now bloody handkerchief. "Leave Bambi to me."